This video is sponsored by me. Read my original novel, Dance of Frozen Death. Link in the description. Greetings, fellow mortals. There's a lot of arguments about what makes a piece of entertainment or a story a 10 out of 10. 5 stars. Perfection. Flawless, because that's actually impossible. No story is flawless because it's created by humans, and I honestly don't think these AI stories are going to take off as badly as people fear. I have read examples of them. If they're anything like AI art, I don't think they'll actually reach a human level of quality unless there is a big boost in technology soon. And to that point, I don't think a story should ever be expected to be perfect because of the human experience. We are all flawed in some way. We make mistakes. We cannot be perfect, and the stories we tell each other should reflect that. So I think that a 10 out of 10 doesn't need to actually be flawless. I think that it needs to be the best possible version of itself. Even its shortcomings should enhance the experience in some way. Kind of like a diamond, its flaws enhances its value to make it better than anything else, or something fake like an AI story. Of course, I support fake diamonds a lot more than AI stories because one involves people dying for a stupid rock and the other doesn't.
Let me ask you a question. Are you prepared to die for your cause?
So, what do I view as a quote-unquote perfect story? What makes something a 10 out of 10 to me? Generally speaking, I give something that high of a score if it completely changed my viewpoint on something. Whether it be a real-life issue, something internal, or the art of storytelling in general. A perfect story is something that I can't find anything in it that I would change. And actually, last year I had a few of those for me personally. I found many masterpieces that shook me to my core and gave me experiences that I will never forget. These newest examples for me are Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Alchemist, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, and Better Call Saul Season 6. Now, some of these are really popular. The Alchemist is a classic book that I never got around to until last year. Elden Ring and God of War won all of the possible awards, and Everything Everywhere All at Once was recognized for its greatness. Plus, every sane person out there loves Better Call Saul. And all of these masterpieces can be considered as overrated by many people, but I would disagree. They are all beautiful examples of the human experience that has affected many people, and I'm glad that these tales were recognized for their greatness. Excellent. Even then, I could find criticisms in each of these things that I would classify as perfect, at least if I looked at them in cynical ways. Everything Everywhere All at Once goes completely into the absurdity of existence. As such, it's hard to recommend it to anyone who can't look at the empty void of the universe and laugh. The Alchemist had virtually no plot whatsoever. It is a pure character and philosophical journey. If you can't relate to the main character's decisions and travels, I don't see you liking the experience like I did. Elden Ring is a story and game that you actively have to search every corner of the map to understand, not to mention that the game is excruciatingly difficult if you don't quote-unquote get it. God of War Ragnarok requires knowledge of the entire franchise to appreciate it, plus there's the Jotunheim segment, which is unbearable on second playthroughs. Finally, Better Call Saul does actually need you to have watched Breaking Bad to appreciate everything about it, but besides that, it's flawless and I will fight you for it.
Come on, let's go! I'm right here!
Randy!
Sit down before you get hurt!
Of course, there are different circumstances for a 10 out of 10 perfect story for you. Sometimes you experience a tale at a perfect moment in your life. Perhaps you were at a stage where you were ready for change. Maybe the story altered your mind about something. It was your eureka moment. This happened to me when I was really young and I watched The Truman Show for the first time. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. The process of realizing that things around you are fake and accepting the cold, hard reality really struck me when I was younger. Of course, there are legitimate criticisms to be made of the film. My wife pointed out a lot of problems politically, socially, culturally, and in the events of the ending that I never considered before. It is not perfect. She likes the movie, but it's one of the few things that I oversold to her. In some ways, she shattered the glass for me. I can't unsee what she pointed out. It's kind of like when you realize that Indiana Jones is irrelevant in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It kind of breaks some of your joy in a weird way.
You're always correcting people.
That's absolutely right.
At the same time, I still love that movie. It will always be perfect to me. It's kind of like The Matrix for some people. And no, I don't have a complex where I think that the world around me is a TV show. The movie more made me realize my own internal struggles and boxes that I place myself into. It's hard to explain and it will make no sense to anyone else. I don't even think that my wife truly gets that part of it. But I not only think that's fine, I think that's a good thing overall. Sometimes our experiences are just our own. We might get something out of a piece of entertainment that wasn't even meant to be there. I've heard plenty of things like this with seemingly odd circumstances. Some examples that I've heard from other people. Dark Souls saved my life, One Piece gave me hope, Star Trek changed my perspective on the future. I've even heard stuff about Rick and Morty helping people. Sometimes a piece of entertainment hits us at the perfect time. We can have an emotional journey over the seemingly most mundane things ever. That's one of the reasons why I would never want to take someone's enjoyment away from a story, even if I am critical of that tale, because you'd be surprised by how something small could bring great change to a person.
Hey, who left this bowl of onions here?
In those cases, I think we all need to be a bit more honest. We have what I call a blind spot. We can't see, don't care, or refuse to acknowledge the flaws in something. Here is some examples for me personally. Persona 5 is one of my favorite games ever, but there are plenty of things that make no sense in the game. I refuse to accept any criticisms to the Lord of the Rings books despite how they meander so much. Erased is such a good little anime that I love, and I would fight you over it. Wow, I am pretty aggressive this video, huh? But I will admit that these aren't perhaps true 10 out of 10s. I would shrug when someone points out a problem with them. It wouldn't take away my enjoyment. I wouldn't feel the need to laugh or to argue. Not everything that I enjoy above all other pieces of entertainment is perfection. It's not like where I heard some idiot on the internet say that everything everywhere all at once has a generic be nice message. I literally laughed when I heard that. I think that there are a lot of people out there that need to hear the idea of having basic human decency around each other despite our differences. I mean, we do have a problem communicating and connecting a lot.
You serious?
Anyway, I think that true 10 out of 10s are the peak of their mediums that are hard to top. They take everything about that form of entertainment and make it as flawless as it can be at that time. Something like The Shining really hasn't been topped by other horror movies. Words of Radiance is one of my favorite books from a series ever. Tales of Two Cities is my favorite classic book ever. Yakuza Like a Dragon is a gold nugget of amazingness. I will continue to scream about how awesome The Good Place is until everyone at least gives it a chance. And all of this isn't to say that I've mentioned every example of a 10 out of 10 story, and we need to be honest when something stumbles to reach that mark. I recently watched a K-drama with my wife called Because This Is My First Life. I was awed for 15 episodes by how perfect it was, but then the ending stumbled slightly, so I wouldn't call it a perfect 10 out of 10, but it might be one of the best romances that I've ever seen. It just feels like a studio executive got in the way of one of the three major storylines. Yeah, you can tell when someone who doesn't know any better sticks their fingers into something they don't understand.
Congratulations, San Francisco. You've ruined pizza.
One thing I want to take out of this is not to criticize something that fails to reach its full potential. That's only human, and storytelling is about humanity. It's beautiful. So, in a way, I appreciate when something stumbles. At the same time, we need to point out those flaws so that we can learn from them, and we need to praise something when it reaches reaches its full potential, like Avengers Infinity War. There's no way to make that film better. It's the best anyone could do with that storyline at that time. Same thing with Captain America Civil War. We can accept that, realize that the follow-up stumbled a bit as they went on, and learn from it all. Or we could just continue to yell at each other. That works too, because someone's going to be mad no matter what. Perhaps they don't like when something reaches its peak of its medium, and if that's the case, well then you can just go, but what do you think? Am I completely off base here? What story reaches a 10 out of 10 for you? Do you enjoy something because of personal circumstances? Do you think that I'm an absolute idiot that should die because my opinion is different than yours? Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your perspectives. And thank you so much for watching. If you like my takes on storytelling, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It would really help me out. Also, please remember that I just released my original novel, Dance of Frozen Death, book 1 in the Written in Stone series, link in the description. And my second book, Above Heaven, will be released in May 1st, 2023. I hope that you will check them both out. I appreciate you. Do not despair.